It's gonna be a good day today, guys. Okay, let's go.
We the people got the right to get down. We want our voices heard.
In early retirement, there is a distance that exists between this father and son, and we sense this tension. And the mother serves as this bridge between them, but that puts a lot of pressure on her because she feels like she's doing everything. She's doing all alone. She's managing these two personalities, all the while managing this household while he's sick. Her husband is sick. And this distance is a result of these cultural differences and also a result of the son's homosexuality, where it feels like they were never able to really discuss or talk about this. And they finally get a chance to talk, which brings this story full circle. The comedy in this was more understated. So it definitely made it a different type of comedy compared to some of the other films in this category that have more of an outward comedy. It was more present within the dynamics of the family structure, within the relationships within this family structure, and also within the dialogue. It had like sort of a subtle comedic element, which was just, it was interesting because it was like different.
All right, I just finished watching Early Retirement, which I thought was a very well done piece. It has a super grounded and relatable feel that I thought really worked because of the acting in particular. I thought the parents were the highlight of the piece, but I just thought that the dynamic between the parents and the son and just the characters in general were very natural and had a very sort of a keen eye, a self-awareness about the types of people that would fill this world, and an understanding of very normal people and sort of how they may not say the right things, or they might have an opinion about something that might not come out appropriately, but they're not, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are the worst person. And I thought that this piece had a good sense of humanity and sort of a three-dimensional understanding of the kind of characters that would be here, that made it sort of have a surprising level of emotional range combined with the humor. I thought that it was actually better when it was well, not better, but I thought that it was just as effective when it wasn't trying to be funny as opposed to when it was obviously trying to be funny. And I thought that there was a good sense of comedic timing and a good natural cadence between the characters that made all the dynamics of the scenes feel very natural. So I thought it was well done. I thought it felt like a sort of primer for a bigger idea, which I thought was a good idea and an effective approach, especially because of the short runtime. And most importantly, I thought it was well acted all the way around, which really gave it a sort of an emotional core that I thought ended up working. So I thought it was a well done piece, and I ended up enjoying it overall.
Early Retirement does a great job of tackling concepts such as family relations, sexuality, and identity. Uh, it all feels very realistic, and in a strange sense, I feel like it humanizes the mother, the father, and the son in the sense of you can't really blame any one person for the situation. The situation being the fact that the son very much is closed off and doesn't want to let people in because he's afraid of getting hurt. That all stems from the fact that he doesn't feel like his family accepts him for who he is because of his sexuality. And it has a lot of very loaded perspectives. Specifically, the scene that struck me was the talk with both him and his father, because I can see both sides. I feel like they're both presenting how they feel about it, and I understand both where they're coming from and the reaction to where they're coming from, in the sense that I understand that feeling that the son feels like the father doesn't accept him because he's gay, and even when he does say that he accepts him, it's like, but do you really? I understand that like little voice in the back of your head that's saying that they're just saying that to be nice. They don't actually mean it, because he's gauging it based off of the actions. and the actions are that the father is uncomfortable with the topic. And I feel like the father has a very like traditional conservative kind of outlook, like an old school kind of outlook, where he grew up in a generation that had specific rules and mindsets. And like he said, while he doesn't agree or approve of all of the rules that he grew up with, it's a testament to his time. That was how he grew up, and that's just the world that he's used to. That was the world that he lived in. So while he's not ashamed of his son, there are aspects about his son's life that he's not comfortable with. But that doesn't mean that he loves his son any less. That doesn't mean that he doesn't want his son to do those things. He just knows that he knows how it makes him feel. It's not a right answer, it's not a wrong answer, but it's an honest answer. And the son's reaction to that, I think, is still very valid, because that's what causes that doubt. It's like, how are you going to tell me you approve of what I do, and in the same sentence tell me that you're uncomfortable with it? It's a very complex dynamic and situation, but I love the realism of it all. What I really love is this is not a black and white film. This is not a film that tells you this person's right, this person's wrong. It just shows you a sea of gray, and that feels very real to me. And I like that because of that gray, ironically enough, he does learn that lesson of, maybe I should broaden my horizon and how I view things. And he calls his significant other back and tries opening up. Because we don't know what happens, but I imagine that something happened that made it that, he doesn't want to open back up because there was a breach of trust. And I feel like that, again, it stems from home. All in all, again, I said it before, but I really do love how it presents a very serious and a situation that happens to a lot of people, but it presents it in a way where it shows a more complicated reality.
This is about relationships, intimacy, family. This is about love. This is about family dynamics. How at times we find ourselves in disagreements with family, and yet we find ourselves following in their footsteps, treating others in the way that we find ourselves at odds with them. This is generational trauma at its roots, and our characters are on a path to either stay in line or step out and go on another path. I don't find the short to be built up with humor, but we do root for our lead here to gain full acceptance from his father about who he is and who he loves, to listen to his mother and answer the call, to which he does, breaking the beaten path set into place before him. We don't know what drives this character to leave this relationship behind, to find himself here at home, but we do see the effort being made to connect and push through to the other side of this relationship. We see the challenges of a wife being treated as if she's taken on only housewife duties, and she's over it, hinting that these lifestyle characteristics and idealisms are fading with even an older generation in mind.
Early Retirement was a fun story. I think it was fun to, place this older woman and her neighbor against each other because of proximity. I think that creates a tension, but also because it is a young and an old, and two political two different political perspectives. I think there was a lot to add to this contention on here, and I think it played out well in the way that they acted against each other. I think there were some fun points throughout when you were poking against the different political ideals. That was fun to watch with both of them. I think the base of the story is really fun with some really fun dialogue. I think they're fun characters. And overall, I think it's a pretty fun story to be showing on screen. Yeah, I think overall it was put together pretty well. There were some sometimes with the acting where it seemed just like things were edited together. Maybe there were some issues with certain takes, but besides that, it was a really fun piece to watch and really well done.
The acting in this was just a little stiff, as if it needed to give the actors just a little more time in rehearsal. Say the mom competing with the neighbor across the street who's an old biddy, like her son said. It's quite funny because you can't actually steal people's political signs no matter how much you disagree with them. You might want to, but you really shouldn't. But it's really those things where old folks kind of shows that they don't always have the same filters that younger folks do, that they think they know they can get away with a little more. I would like to know what the neighbor says, or if she puts another one, because at first when I first saw the political sign, I thought this was going to be like competing between the two political parties. But this was funny. It took a while. I liked that the natural buildup on who Travis was, because at first I was trying to figure out if he was a boyfriend, a brother, a best friend, and it was just kind of a natural buildup to describe who he was, which worked well with the story. You knew this guy was struggling, and it still worked with the comedic timing of it, along with a little drama. I'd say this is more of a dramedy, but it really worked well.